There comes a time in life when standing still is no longer an option. You can't afford to live your life chain to yesterday's failures, yesterday's fears, or yesterday's disappointments. If you keep staring at what you lost, you'll never see what's in front of you. Moving forward in faith means believing that what's ahead of you is greater than what's behind you. Faith is not about seeing everything clearly. It's about stepping even when the path is dim. It's about walking when your legs are trembling, trusting when your heart is breaking, and believing when the evidence says, give up. Some of you are standing on the edge of a breakthrough, but the weight of your past has convinced you to stay where you are. Let me tell you something. Forward is calling your name. Your destiny is not behind you, it's in front of you. Every tear, every trial, every season of waiting has been preparing you for what's next. So lift your head, straighten your shoulders, wipe those tears, and step out, not by sight, but by faith. Because when you move forward in faith, doors will open that no man can shut. Strength will rise where weakness once lived, and the impossible will bow to the God who makes all things possible. Faith refuses to stay stuck because faith understands that yesterday is a place of reference, not a place of residence. You can't build a future while living in the ruins of your past. Some people have been wounded so deeply that they keep reliving the same season over and over again. But faith says, I can't change what happened, but I can change how I respond to it. I won't let my history hold my destiny hostage. A faith refuses to stay stuck because faith knows that pain is not permanent. It's temporary, it's seasonal, it's just passing through. Yes, the tears were real. Yes, the heartbreak was heavy. But faith looks at the situation and says, this too shall pass. What you endured does not have the power to define who you are becoming. Faith speaks louder than fear, louder than failure, louder than shame. Faith refuses to stay stuck because faith understands the difference between being delayed and being denied. Just because something didn't happen when you thought it would doesn't mean it will never happen. Sometimes God delays it to develop you, to prepare you, to strengthen you, so that when the blessing comes, you'll be able to carry it without it crushing you. Faith sees delay not as defeat, but as divine timing. Faith refuses to stay stuck because faith knows that regret is a trap. Regret whispers, if only I had done this, if only I hadn't done that. But faith interrupts the whispers of regret with the roar of hope. Faith says, I can't go back and fix yesterday, but I can rise today and build a better tomorrow. Faith releases the weight of what cannot be changed, so it can embrace the possibilities of what can still be created. Faith refuses to stay stuck because faith recognizes that comfort zones can become cages. Some people stay stuck not because they're broken, but because they're too comfortable. Faith challenges you to step out of the familiar and into the unknown, trusting that God's hand will hold you even when the ground beneath your feet feels shaky. The unknown is not a threat. It's an invitation for growth. Faith refuses to stay stuck because faith thrives on movement. Stagnation breeds doubt, but motion strengthens belief. Every step forward, no matter how small, builds momentum. Faith doesn't wait for everything to line up before moving. It moves and trusts that alignment will follow. It's not the size of the step that matters, it's the obedience in taking it. Faith refuses to stay stuck because faith redefines failure. To the natural eye, failure looks like the end. But to faith, failure is feedback. It's a teacher. It's a stepping stone, not a gravestone. Faith doesn't shrink back in shame. It rises up with renewed courage, declaring, "This is not where my story ends." Faith refuses to stay stuck because faith believes that tomorrow can look different than today. No matter how dark the night, faith waits expectantly for the sunrise. It lives with anticipation. It dreams with boldness. It expects breakthrough even in barren places. Faith refuses to let the past dictate the future because it knows that what's ahead is greater than what's behind. Faith moves before the evidence because faith understands that waiting for proof is not belief, it's sight. Anybody can act when the facts are in their favor, but faith is bold enough to move when the ground still looks shaky. Faith says, "I don't see it yet, but I know it's on the way." It doesn't need the whole staircase to take the first step. Faith moves before the evidence because faith knows that the promise comes before the provision. Sometimes you receive a word, a dream, or a vision that seems impossible. The bank account doesn't match the business idea. The resume doesn't match the position you're pursuing. The odds don't match the outcome you're expecting. Yet faith takes a step as if it's already done because it trusts the one who spoke the promise more than the facts of the moment. Faith moves before the evidence because faith understands that hesitation kills momentum. If you wait until everything is perfect, you'll never start. Faith is not about perfection. It's about progression. It takes the leap, not because the landing is guaranteed, but because the one who called you is faithful. Faith understands that movement attracts miracles. Faith moves before the evidence because faith thrives in the unseen. The evidence may not be in your hands, but it's already established in heaven. Faith doesn't measure reality by what's visible. It measures reality by what's eternal. That means when your circumstances shout, "Impossible," faith whispers, "All things are possible." The unseen realm is more powerful than the seen realm, and faith lives in that reality. Faith moves before the evidence because faith knows that obedience is the key that unlocks provision. Many people want to see God move first before they take action. But faith doesn't wait for God to prove himself. It acts. And in the act of obedience, the provision shows up. Just like water doesn't part until the first step touches it, faith walks into the unknown and trusts that God will meet it there. Faith moves before the evidence because faith is a language of expectation. It speaks differently, thinks differently, and acts differently. While others say, "I'll believe it when I see it," faith says, "I'll see it because I believe it." That mindset shifts how you walk, how you talk, and how you live. It pulls the unseen future into the present reality by daring to act on it. Faith moves before the evidence because faith is not intimidated by risk. Fear tells you to stay safe, stay small, stay hidden. But faith tells you to stretch, to step, to rise. Faith refuses to let the unknown silence your destiny. It moves with the confidence that if God is for you, no obstacle can stop you, no barrier can hold you, no enemy can defeat you. Faith moves before the evidence because faith carries vision. Vision doesn't see what is, it sees what can be. Faith dares to dream beyond the limits of logic. It builds when there are no blueprints. It sings when there's no song. It moves when there's no map. Faith moves before the evidence because it knows the evidence will follow the movement. So hear me today. Faith refuses to stay stuck, and faith moves before the evidence. That means you don't have to wait until you have it all figured out. You don't have to sit in the ashes of yesterday, and you don't have to wait until everything lines up perfectly. No, you've got to step into your tomorrow with the confidence that the same God who carried you this far is the same God who will carry you forward. Every chain that tried to hold you has no authority over your future. Every failure that tried to define you has no power over your destiny. Every voice that said you couldn't make it has no control over your outcome. Faith silences the critics, breaks the limits, and pushes you into the place you were created to be. So rise up, move forward. Walk in boldness. Don't wait for the evidence. Create the evidence by your obedience. Don't stay stuck in the past. Step into the promise of your future. Your best days are not behind you. They are right in front of you. And if you dare to move forward in faith, you will discover that nothing can stop a person who believes enough to step